Hello, listeners of the Art Versations podcast. Thank you, DJ Chris, for that sweet, sweet jam. Very delicious. Yummy. Another week, another conversation with an artist. Wherever you are in your creative process right now, maybe you're making things, consuming things. I just want to say a big thank you for tuning into this podcast. Let's keep this conversation going. Are you a first-time listener, maybe? It's nice to have you. I'm Bri, like the cheese, the host and producer of Art Versations podcast, and I'm so happy to share this next episode with you. My guest this week is Aaliyah Sundar. We sat down on my balcony, social distancing, of course, and she taught me so much about costume and fashion design. She even educated me on what bespoke clothing is, and even though I've been wearing that kind of costuming all my life, my ignorance definitely comes out in this episode. But I was so happy to sit down with her and learn. Stick around and please enjoy my conversation with Aaliyah Sundar. Are you insane?
Yeah.
I was like looking at what you did and I was like, oh, she worked on the last nail in the coffin. And then I started just scrolling through it. I was like, oh wait, there she is again.
Oh, but there she is again.
There she is again. Like, hi, Aaliyah.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm amazing. How are you?
I'm so good. It's once again, we're in my balcony. This is, I think, my third time now recording here.
It's beautiful.
Do you feel comfy? Do you feel safe?
I feel cozy because of all the blankets around me. It's nice. There's no wind. I love it.
I had Alessia on the other time, Alessia Brownie, and
She told me.
Yeah, she was like explaining to me how it kind of feels like a fort.
Yeah, it does.
You're getting those vibes.
I'm getting those vibes.
Okay, I'm glad. I want to make sure that you feel safe and that we're spreading ourselves apart from COVID and all that stuff. I mean, speaking of COVID, like how are you managing with all that?
Oh man, I mean, for everyone, the first month was terrible.
Yeah.
Especially with school and everything. I was like, how am I gonna do this? But it works out. It works itself out. We're humans. We adapt to everything.
Yeah.
But I will say, I am feeling less creative, and I definitely was bummed at that. And I was like, why am I not sewing? Why am I not doing things? And then I sort of forgave myself for it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to. Mm-hmm. There's nothing going on, and there's no way that you can be angry at yourself for not being creative. Yeah, it's such a stupid thing to get mad at yourself for. So
yeah, but when it's a big part of your life, right? As an artist, it's all of a sudden you don't trust yourself in some ways because you're all of these creative juices I used to have are so gone now.
I know, and it's sad because the last Ryerson show that I did was in the first semester of fourth year. So
was it frantic?
Yeah, it was frantic.
That was your last Ryerson work?
Yeah. And so it feels like it was literally a year ago.
Yeah.
Quite literally a year ago. Wow. And I was like, oh, I wish because I did outreach in my second semester, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. But I started 2 weeks before the pandemic hit.
No.
So I just feel like I haven't done anything big in so long. But I can't get mad at myself over it because, and I don't think anyone should get mad at themselves over anything like this because it's out of our capability. It's totally fine. But yeah, then it's just finding inspiration from other things.
Like what? Is it media or books or?
That's a great question.
Yeah, anything you can think of in even just the last day or so that you've been inspired by. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding.
On my own podcast.
That's actually a good call. I should check my phone. We're good.
Why did I do this to myself? I'm so sorry.
Don't be sorry.
I just interrupted you.
No, you're so good.
What have you been inspired by lately?
Well, oh my god, I've been inspired by, I want to say social media, which I always feel guilty saying, because I just watched The Social Dilemma. Have you seen it yet?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Great documentary.
Oh my goodness. Tell me everything that you think about it.
I thought it was great, but every time I'm on social media, I'm like, oh my god, why am I on, like, this is terrible for me. Because I'm like, everything that I've ever been inspired by is so curated. It blows my mind. But anyways, I have been inspired by social media. I also shouldn't make myself feel guilty about that, because it really is the only thing that gets you going creatively. You know what I mean?
At this point, yeah.
At this point.
Yeah, I feel you.
I want to say nature, but I mean, it's so rare that I get out there. Especially when you live in the middle of nowhere with buildings all around you. But that's just about it. I want to say, like, my friends, my boyfriend, my family,
the people that you care about.
Those good things.
In your little tight bubble, right? Like,
definitely
those relationships are so important right now. Just to, like, have some kind of social interaction.
Oh, it's so important. It's so important. And even just, I mean, I was just talking to Alessia on FaceTime, and we'll call each other, like, every week or so. And like, even just my friends will call each other, and that is just so important in itself. Like, it was definitely so awkward to do the first few times, but once you get over that, like, you have to have social interactions with your gal pals. You know what I mean? It's so important. Especially when, for me, the only person I see is my boyfriend, so I'm like, I need my girls.
Need some feminine estrogen.
I need vibes. The hormones. I need it all. I need it. So they definitely inspire me because, art friends. You know?
Other creatives. Yeah, like you say, like, everything is online right now with social media.
Oh, yeah.
So we're so, and like with the Social Dilemma documentary, like, we're so used to having all of our information on our phones or on our little profiles, and it's like, if we're not seeing each other in person, how else are we gonna,
what the hell are we gonna do?
So then everything does become online now.
Well, when you think about it, like, our careers sort of live online. Right? Like, you reached out to me online.
That's
so
good.
if I had deleted my Instagram for a month because I watched the frickin' Social Dilemma, I would not be here. And it's just opportunities like that I get online. And that's happened to me several times where, like, I've gotten a job online, or, like, there's a posting on a Facebook group where I'm like, oh yeah, I can totally do that. So if I deleted all of my social media, it just doesn't work for me career-wise, right? And even just having, like, a design Instagram, that is so important. So I think, definitely limit social media, but it's so important for our career, especially right now. So don't beat yourself over it. Instagram is crucial sometimes.
It's crucial sometimes. As long as you give yourself time off.
Yeah, exactly.
And
that's
remember
what I've learned.
to, like, I guess, even though we build these profiles of who we are, like, in person is so much better and so much more genuine who you are. And what you represent, you know.
Well, it's all about the balance. You gotta be great in person. You gotta be great online too. And sometimes it's hard to do that, but I mean, if you're just an online person, it definitely sort of messes the balance up. For me personally, I hate that. Like, I think it was definitely the first 2 months of the pandemic. I only spoke to my friends online, and we barely had the time to, like, FaceTime each other or Zoom or anything like that. And it was just that social, like, I'm an extrovert, so it's just the social interaction you forget.
You must have been, like, dying at the beginning of the quarantine.
I was absolutely dying.
To be without people, like,
and to be a hugger as well.
I'm a hugger too. You know, as a dancer, right? Like, I'm so used to touching people.
That's so true. Actually, you know what? I've never thought about that. It's
weird when there's, like, even just when we met today in my apartment, it's like air hug, you know. We could have done, like, a foot tap or something maybe, but that's it, really.
I know. It's a weird time, but it's temporary. It's fine. It's fine.
I feel like there's probably hopes that maybe even, like, in the summer of next year, things will be a bit different.
Well, I work in bridal, so I sell wedding dresses, and a lot of brides are really hoping to get married next year. Like, my brother is actually planning a wedding next August.
Yeah. Wow.
So there's a lot of hopes in the air.
For sure, yeah.
Even for, like, next May, I'm like, there's a lot of brides getting married in May for some reason. So yeah, the hopes are to just, you know, that by next year things will be better. But
the summer wedding.
Yeah, summer wedding. But yeah, it's really sad hearing those stories, especially people who were supposed to get married this year, and then they're like,
and they did all this prep beforehand.
Yeah. Well, now everyone and their mama is getting married next year, so that's a good thing.
That's good for you. For good business.
It's good for me. It's great commission. No, I'm kidding. No, it's really sad to hear too. Just the stories of brides who are like, I did all this work, and I'm like, yeah, I know, but at least you're healthy. That's the one thing you always got to remind yourself. At least you're healthy. You were good.
It can wait, maybe.
And your guests are healthy too.
Super important.
And you are able to do the wedding next year. So. Yeah.
In due time, yeah. How did it work, like, even just now? Are you still working in bridal, like, right now? Like, how does that work that you get commissioned, but then also do you meet the people in person? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, we still do appointments.
Okay.
Because it doesn't really transfer. I always call it it. I think it's so funny. It doesn't really transfer on fabric. And if you steam it, right, the heat sort of gets rid of the germs.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
oh my God,
so we'll steam it basically about, I think we try to do it like every week. Or like if there's like a very popular dress, we will like steam it out every once in a while. And then when I get the brides to try on the dresses, I'm like, hey, let me touch the zippers because they're hard surfaces technically. So I'll touch the zippers, clasps, anything like that. That's a hard surface.
Okay.
And then between appointments, you just Lysol the shit out of everywhere. Yeah, literally everywhere.
Wow, okay.
And then I'm like, also I'm like, don't touch the hangers. You can touch the fabric, just don't touch the hangers. Then there's also virtual appointments too.
Okay.
Which is fun. How
does
cool.
a bride like know exactly what dress they would want over virtual? Like, how does that?
So it's like literally a Zoom call, and I'm like, what do you like? And I'm like, and then it's like, well, this is a great dress. Like, and then it's so they don't choose a dress over Zoom. Obviously, you're paying like thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So I mean, unless you're that bride who knows exactly what you want, most likely won't happen over Zoom.
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay, here are my favorites, and then when I actually come in at a more appropriate time, I know what I want to try on. So like they'll have like 5 dresses that they like that I've showed them, and then the next appointment is just easy for them.
So they're only there for like a set amount of time, not just like waiting around.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I think it's a really cool thing to do and carry on even after COVID, because you really only get an hour per appointment. So to do that beforehand, spend more time in the dresses that you like before it, right?
Saves time, more efficient.
But bridal is such a funny industry right now.
I don't know much about it. I remember I used to watch Say Yes to the Dress.
Oh God.
I don't know, is it a lot like that?
No,
like,
no,
yeah,
no.
Okay.
No, I mean, all the respect for Kleinfields, but no, it's not like that. I mean, especially at this shop that I work at, it's called Lover's Land.
Oh, okay.
And it's, so we just carry such different dresses. It's a little bit more modern and not like, your poofy cupcake dress. So we get a lot more chill. We don't really get bridezolas, really.
That's good. Makes for great TV. But
exactly. It makes for great TV, but it's not realistic. Like most brides and sisters aren't like that, I promise you. Yeah. I mean, it's a really cool environment. You're just making a woman feel really good about themselves for a special day for them.
Right.
And it's a good environment to be around.
That's good. Do you get to do a lot of designing, or are you more just
no
like a clerk or a...
Yeah, it's just sales right now.
Okay.
And my hopes right now actually are to like get into alterations, things like that.
Great.
So that's something that I'm hoping to learn soon.
Yeah.
And contribute in terms of that. But in terms of design, I've never really thought of bridal like that. I know that's really funny, and you would think I would, but I think that I just respect the designers so much for their craft that I don't think that I'm at that level yet to be able to curate things that they do and like almost compete with that. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a. I still consider myself a student.
Do you really?
Yeah.
After graduating?
I know.
Getting your degree?
I know.
Do you want to do more
whole
schooling
degree.
after this? Is that the idea? Like, do you?
I don't.
You're like, I'm done.
I don't. I should say I consider myself a novice still, and
Okay.
like someone that's still learning because
Yeah.
with sewing in this industry, like school doesn't teach you anything. And I hate to say it, like I love Ryerson, all the respect for all of my teachers at Ryerson too, but you don't learn anything. We have like 3 different sewing machines at Ryerson, and I literally, I was applying for a job, and they were like, we have like 7 different machines, like how many machines do you know? And I'm like, 3? And in my head I'm like, I didn't even know there were 7 machines.
Oh my goodness, okay. So you only got like half of, or less than half of like knowledge.
especially because the program, it encompasses so much. The first 2 years we're learning sound, lighting, things that, I mean, we didn't really go to school. We didn't really want to commit to. But you learn a little bit of everything, which, I mean, I still appreciate at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because I'll know if someone's bullshitting me or not.
Like, actually, remember that. I learned this in first year.
I'm like,
You're
actually,
wrong.
I know what a lab is. That's the most of sound that I'll ever know, so that's funny.
You know what? Speaking of sound, I'm going to get you to turn your microphone around because I feel like it'll pick up a bit better.
Is that better?
A little bit,
That
yes.
is actually so much. That is hilarious. Here, let me turn on my camera.
I'm so sorry. I was trying to figure out what it was at this time. Like, something wasn't coming up.
It's because my hand was blocking it the entire time. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I guess because with the blue, that means it's the front or something like that. Yeah.
I should know. That's
Anyways,
funny.
sorry to interrupt you again.
Talking about knowing about sound, right? Yeah, so for the first 2 years, like, you just learn such general things, and then in your last 2 years, you obviously you do shows all throughout, and you learn a lot through that, I won't lie.
Yeah.
But you really, like, I've only done 4 costume classes, specific costume classes that are technical.
More specialized, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, the curriculum can only allow you to take, I mean, like, the classes that are offered at Ryerson, there are only 4 specific costume classes. So there's like the tutu one, there's the costume making one, there's like a period class, and then there's like a general encompassing class. So, I mean, you learn through calls and stuff, but it's, in terms of like technical, like if I were to like apply to a job right now, I just feel like I don't know enough. So that's why I still consider myself, you know, like still learning.
Like emerging or...
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm like you. I just got into school, right? So there's still so much more I have to learn. Like it would be funny for me to be like, oh, now I'm a dancer. You know, now that I have a degree.
Yeah,
you know, like that's not...
Dancing is, I guess you could think about this in terms of sewing too, but when I think of a dancer, like once you've been trained for the first time, I'm like, yeah, you're a dancer. And I don't even think you need to be trained to be a dancer too. And I don't take that the wrong way.
No, I know what you mean. Like
you just have to have a passion for it.
Yeah. You know what? I'm really glad you said that, actually. I think I've always thought that.
Yeah.
But I realize, in all arts, I think, in any kind of art, like if you actually are coming from a place of just passion, like it will show and someone will relate to it.
Yeah.
Versus like someone who's like super trained and has all of the expertise,
and they're just doing what's told, right? Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. I'm glad we're talking about this because I was thinking about this on the train. I was like, do I even bring this up? I used to dance in high school.
Oh, no
the
way.
Funniest part of my life.
Oh my gosh, that's
I love
awesome.
bringing this up to dancers because it's hilarious.
Yeah, tell more.
But I mean, I was never trained. I've always wanted to dance, but like my mom just never had the resources for me to like take classes. We never had the money, the time. We didn't have like a vehicle to take me, right? So I was like, oh, I've always wanted to get into dance, but like I'm not trained, so I can't really call myself a dancer. So like, it's so funny that we're talking about this because, and I'm telling you this because this entire time I'm like, I can't tell people that I used to dance because I was not a dancer. But it's so true. Like you just have to have a passion for something, and why not just call yourself that?
If you can tap your foot to music,
if you have rhythm,
you're a dancer. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. And I'm glad you see that too.
And I hope people don't take offense of that either, because...
I don't think so.
No. Dancers are the coolest people ever. They're like...
You think so?
Yeah, I love dancers. They're great.
I think there's a lot of people that would really say that they're so dedicated to their craft, and they're so, you know, like... They're so keen on having like a high level of technicality, but I think that's where they lack in passion and creativity and individualism, like being your own kind of dancer.
Oh yeah.
You know, like I think I've always said that like everyone has their own style of dance because they have their own kind of body.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's no way that I could be like these two people dance the exact same way.
That is so true.
You know?
I've never been able to put that into words. But that's so true.
Yeah.
Like when I like go watch choreographic works for like, you know, like I go watch that every year. That's my favorite show. But even dances, like I watch each of you dance individually. You're all doing the same choreography, but you have a different way of doing it. And I've never been able to like put that into words, but it's so true. And it's your body. It's the way that you think. It's the way that you think of the moves and the way you put it together in your head. There's no way to make dancers react the same way to music ever, even if you teach them choreography. That's so interesting. It's so cool. Dancing's so cool.
I wish you could have done more of it. Like it sounds like you were pulled away from it because
No. I mean, I just danced, and I mean, I still really love dancing.
Good.
Like you put on some music, I'll get in there. No, I'm kidding.
Good.
But I mean, I don't think it was ever like my calling in life or anything like that, though. It was what got me into this industry in the first place. Like I loved dancing in high school, but then I just really like I would do like the paperwork and this all the backstage stuff for the dance recitals.
Okay.
And I'd be so into that I'd forget that I was also dancing. So like
wearing so many hats.
Yeah, I was wearing so many hats, and I just love being backstage. It's such a funny thing because people always assume that backstage people, they wanted to become like an actor or dancer because they couldn't do that. They're backstage, but it's not true. It's actually because we really love doing it. Like I would honestly, if my mom had the resources to put me into dance, I for sure know in my heart that I would still be where I am right now. I just love what I do. Like dancing's fun, but I don't see myself doing it for the rest of my life.
Yeah, so you can have it as just something that you go to when you need it. Yeah,
it's a hobby for sure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's so nice.
I know. Isn't it?
So you were doing a lot of backstage stuff in high school. Was costume design or fashion, was that a part of like your childhood earlier than this dance stuff, or was it in high school that you realized you wanted to go into fashion?
Well, sewing was always a part of like my family and my generation.
Cool.
Like throughout the generations, I should say. My grandma used to sew, and then my aunt was like an extreme sewer. Like she was very much into it, and then she stopped. My mom, she knew how to sew too, but she never actually taught me how to sew, which is funny. She had a sewing machine and everything, but she never really taught me. It wasn't until
she never got around to it.
She was like, I don't want her to touch my sewing machine. No, I'm kidding. That's actually probably the case. No, and then my grandma, when I was younger, she taught me how to like hand sew. She like got all of her grandkids together, and she was like, okay, listen up, we're gonna do a craft today. She was like, here are all these pillowcases. You're gonna draw on them. You're gonna write your name actually, and we're gonna embroider it on. Wow. So she like taught us how to hand sew, and she was like, whoever does it first, you're gonna win something. And I was like, fuck yeah.
You're like, I'm in it.
I was like, say no more. And so obviously, I mean, I was the winner. Obviously, I won.
Yeah.
Come on. And and I think I just got so into it that I was like, oh, this is fun. And then I just loved design. I loved being creative. And then when I got into high school, my teacher actually started like a fashion course at the same year that I like had to choose my courses for grade 10.
Okay.
I was like, is this a sign? I was like, oh, this is cool. Yeah. So I took it and I absolutely loved it. And then I just got into it. I was like, oh, this is so fun. Like, I love this. obviously, like, I was a little rough at it. Like, I'd never learned how to sew before it, but it was so fun, and I loved it.
Yeah, what luck that your teacher, brought this course in as soon as you saw it.
I did ask her. I remember when I was in grade 9, I was like, why isn't there anything to do with, like, fashion, or, like, why don't we ever learn about textiles or anything like that? Because we were a very art-heavy high school.
Oh, yeah? Where'd you go?
I went to York Memorial. So it's in the West. Yeah.
Toronto schools.
It's in the West End.
Gotcha.
And not a lot of people know of it. But yeah, so we, like, loved art. Like, there was a lot of art courses, but there were no fashion courses. So I was like, why? I literally asked her, I was like, why isn't there anything about, like, this? And she was like, you know what? Like, I've always wanted to do it. So I think I actually, like, sparked it in her, and she was like, let's do it.
Okay.
So I was really fortunate that I got to do that while I was there. And then it was also just I just learned that this is an actual job.
Yeah.
I did it first, like I was saying, dance recitals, school plays, and things like that. And then, like, just speaking to my teacher, she was like, yeah, people actually do this for a living, and they get paid for it. And I was like, no way! I was like, really? And then, yeah, I looked into it, and I was like, Ryerson, why not? Let's go into it.
Was Ryerson your only choice?
Yeah. I only applied to Ryerson. So I applied to the fashion design program. I applied to psychology. We're not going to talk about it.
Noted.
I don't know why. And then I applied to, obviously, performance production. And then yeah. And I was like, I don't imagine myself doing anything else. So let's just do it. Why not?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And here you are. You have a degree now.
And now I have a whole BFA.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
It's weird. It's like, okay, now I have this degree.
What do I do?
I can't really use it right now because nothing is going on. Like, I actually just found out this morning Broadway is closing until June, like, for sure.
Oh my god, I saw that.
Did you see that? Because they were supposed to open, like, in January, maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean, why would they open in winter? That's so dumb. So
I know,
yeah, so
it messes up the season too. Yeah.
I know, yeah. So yet again, we're stuck with this, like, pushback. How do you feel like being? I mean, I know this is America we're talking about, but like being a theater person or being someone that, like, I'm sure you enjoy live theater, you go to shows, like, but you can't do that right now.
Yeah.
How are you dealing with that?
At first it was really sad for me because I was like, I studied this thing for 4 years and now it's not even a thing.
Yeah.
And it was a bummer, but then you start to realize that, I mean, at least for costume, you've accumulated all of these skills that you can apply to other things. So, I mean, there is seamstress work, there's alterations, there's tailoring, there's, there's so many things that you can get into. There's film, which actually, like, there's a boom happening right now.
Oh, what's there?
There's, like, a film boom happening in Canada right now.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if you know a lot about it, but it, like, because they can't film in America because it's so fucking terrible right now, they're coming to Canada because it's safer.
Right.
I mean, not in this very moment, but in August it was safer. So a lot of productions moved to Toronto and Vancouver, and now a lot of, like, film unions are hiring people like there's no tomorrow. So that's a great thing.
Yeah.
That's a plus, but my first love will always be live theater, like, and dance specifically. Like, I love working on dance.
Versus acting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, okay. I love acting. I love anything. I love any live theater, really. I'll take what I can get. But I've always loved ballet, and I loved dance, and I love working with people that are moving. Like, Frantic Assembly was definitely up my alley, even though it was acting technically.
Movement.
Yeah, it was acting technically, but they moved a lot. I love making clothes for people that move. It's such a challenge. It's so much fun. It's like, it's so much fun.
Speaking of Frantic, I know it's been like a year, but like, what was that process like? If you can go back in your brain a little bit. I remember I saw the show. Actually, I saw the show on the night that one of the actors injured themselves.
Yeah.
So I only got to see like half of it. But the costuming design was very interesting with, like, different kind of shapes all around. A lot of black and white, I guess, but like, how did you work with these artists too? Because they're from Europe, you know. Like, how was that process? Yeah. What was that process like? Oh,
it was so funny because we had our first production meeting, and I'm like, have all of these ideas. Like, this is the first time because I had costume design before, but it was so straightforward. The choreographer knew exactly what she wanted. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, with Hannah Keel, yeah.
Yeah, with Hannah Keel, with Urge, she was like, we want purple shorts and white t-shirts.
Everyone looks the same.
Yeah. This is exactly what we're doing. Like, there wasn't a lot of creative input, which I'm not complaining. It was really fun. One of my favorite shows that I've ever worked on. How is Frantic Assembly? That is the perfect sound for that. Emergency. But Frantic Assembly was the first show where I actually got to be, like, creatively just so out there. Cool. So I had all of these ideas. We're in the production meeting, and so then both of the, oh my god, I'm forgetting their names right now, but the choreographers and the, like, directors, they were going through all the notes. So they were like, sound, this is what we want. Projections, this is exactly what we want. Set, this is what we want. They're, like, going through it. I'm, like, waiting patiently. I'm like, oh, I'm so excited. Like, what are they gonna say for costumes? And then they're like, okay, yeah, that's it. Does anyone have any questions? And I was like, hello? I was like, hi, like, I'm from wardrobe and I'm the costume designer. Like, is there anything that you want to tell me? And they were like, oh, I thought they were, like, all wearing black. And I was like, no. I was like, no, like, these are the ideas that I have. Like, you do have a designer on the show, and I'm in 4th year, so, like, if you do need anything, like, please let me know. But these are my ideas. So they actually didn't, like, it's not their fault at all. Yeah. But they didn't expect to actually have a designer that's working with them, because all the shows that they've ever done for Frantic, they've either bought themselves, or the performers will, like, wear their own clothes. Like, they've just always worked so freely with costumes that they've never really had a designer to work for them. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this opportunity and I'm going to show them what they can get when they have a designer. So I really just took the opportunity and was like, let me just get as creative as I can get. And the show was just so trippy that I was like, let me just work with it. Let me just, you know. And then obviously the show is based on, well, actually, I don't know if you know this, because you didn't get to see the entire show. Like, all the fun stuff happens after what you didn't get to see.
Oh, no, I missed all of it.
You missed all the good stuff. I'm so sorry to hear.
Tell me everything. Oh, my gosh.
So, essentially, after they go through those curtains, that's when the incident did happen, the curtain comes up, and then they're in this upside-down world, essentially.
Oh, my God.
So, I don't know if you've seen the pictures. It's when everything is, like, hung.
Maybe I saw it.
Like, all the, like, chairs and, like, like the set. Everything is suspended from the ceiling. And then that's when the costumes get trippy, too. So,
Hello, listeners. Editor Bri here, checking in for a quick break. This next half of the episode, there will be some sound interruptions due to trucks and garbage bins. So sorry about that. Headphone users, I would advise to turn down your volume a bit. Yeah, this is the magic of unedited podcasting, my friends. I apologize for the technical difficulties, and apologies to Aaliyah. So sorry. Okay, back to the episode.
For that change, I was like, there absolutely needs to be a costume change, or there needs to be something that's changing on them, but it needs to be very quick. Like, it needs to happen very quickly. So what I wanted was, I wanted them to have a base costume, and then for every performer, there's something that changes about them. Right. So whether they, like, zips, like, they unbutton something, like Emma had a pair of pants where she unbuttoned and they became flare pants, and then there was, like, a different fabric. Okay. And so, like, little things like that, like, they would just change.
Just unfortunately, to have, like, some visual change, right? Not
and so the, like, audience would be like, wait, wasn't she wearing something different? Like,
she looks different now.
And then Maddie had, like, upside down pants.
I saw those on your Instagram. I was gonna ask you about that. So it's like the like waistband was on the cuff of the ankle. That's so cool.
I know.
You designed those.
I did.
That's amazing.
I mean, I did take inspiration. I forget who the designer is, but it's definitely a high-end designer who created those pants. I did a shoot with this stylist, and she had those pants, and I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. So I took inspiration from that, and we thrifted some pants, and we basically, like, ripped it open, recreated new pants for Maddie out of those, and like it's upside down.
Yeah.
Alex definitely hated me for that. I'm kidding.
Gilbert, yeah.
Alex is like, seriously, are you sure you want to do this? I was like, please. I was like, you know what? You can scrap the whole show. I just want these pants.
Just need the pants.
And it was so funny because you couldn't even see them on stage. I was like, you know what? I don't care. I can see them and I love them.
Do they just look like regular pants, like black?
Yeah,
and white?
we had to like Sharpie the lines so that it would at least be a little apparent for anyone that was sitting at the front. Because we spent so much time on it. I was like, oh man, like all of my assistants spent so much time and like effort hearing me, like even just hearing me talk about it and like trying to figure this out. I was like, they need at least 2 people need to see it. So anyways, that was something that was like my favorite part of the entire show, and all the costumes. That's my favorite costume.
Wow.
We spent so much time on it, but
and they gave you the freedom to do it. Like they said, we don't really know what we want to do, but we'll let you decide. Is that the idea?
They gave me the freedom. Yeah, they gave me the freedom, but they obviously like gave in their input. They were like, hey, like let's do this, let's not do that.
Right.
Unfortunately, not every actor got to have like a change, but it was still cool. It still worked.
Budget.
You know what? Budget wasn't an issue in terms of like money.
Oh. Okay.
It was like the budget of time.
Yeah.
It was like
because that show was put together in like 3 weeks.
So we started school September, like the first week of September.
Right.
And then we didn't start working on the show until like September, I want to say 20th, 21st. Like that was our first meeting.
Okay.
And then we opened October 14th or so. So we really only had like 3 weeks to work on it.
There's no time.
There's no time. And that was for my prep too. So that included my design prep.
Oh my gosh.
And actually making the costumes. So it was the toughest show I've ever worked on. And I'd definitely change a lot of things if I were to ever do it again. But like it was definitely a learning curve. It was really, really fun. But it was and I got to work with like all of my favorite people. I love those actors. They're all my favorites.
They're
so
great.
Yeah, I wouldn't have had it anywhere else. It was so fun.
I can't believe that was your last project.
I know.
Well, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw on the New Voices page, you worked on like at least 3 projects. Are you insane?
Yeah.
I was like looking at what you did, and I was like, oh, she worked on the last nail in the coffin. And then I started just scrolling through, and I was like, oh wait, there she is again.
Oh, but there she is again.
There she is again. Like, I mean, thank goodness the festival didn't actually work out because like you would have been.
I was dying.
Busy.
I was dying.
but like that's so cool. So
I
impressive.
know. I really wanted to though. I loved all of the actors, so I just didn't know how to say no. But also like, I wanted to do it because I knew that I wasn't doing a show that semester, and I was like, and I'd never really worked on New Voices, so I was like, I'd never designed for New Voices ever. So I was like, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it 4 times in a row. Like, why not? Yeah, so technically I did 4. I did, because I did Bobby's film.
Right.
And then I did,
Metamorphosis.
Yeah. And then I did the 3 other plays, so.
You're ridiculous.
I know. I didn't end up actually doing it, but it was fun. And I loved working with all of the actors.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why I couldn't say no. I was like, but I want to do it.
Right. Well, it shows
so I can't complain.
Like, people asked you, or they like agreed to have you on their team. Like,
well, usually like if there's a designer the semester before, that's usually the designer everyone's like hunting down.
So you worked with them at Frantic, and then they're like, let's do it again.
They were like, hey.
You built that relationship.
Yeah. So, no, I mean, I wish New Voices happened because it would have been so cool. There were so many cool shows in the lineup,
and a lot of like a lot of things that could be films, so it kind of worked out, or like could be podcasts.
Exactly.
Or something. But I know a lot of the actors were telling me like the first few weeks of like when we were shut down, like they were just scrambling to try and get their work out.
I know,
because they were like really close to it actually being performed.
Yeah, it was like it was opening in within the next week or 2 weeks.
My gosh,
so like they were so close, and
and all of the stuff that you designed, you put on like the showcase website, right?
Yeah, I tried to make like little PowerPoints. I was also in my own pickle where I was trying to figure out my assignments because a lot of the sewing assignments that I was supposed to do I could have only done in the studio realistically, so I had to change a lot of things, and I was doing my thesis, which I waited to do until last minute, of course.
Same.
So I was like, you know what, like I unfortunately don't get a grade on new voices, but here's what I can give you.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because I'm just a designer, like they get a grade off of new voices, but I don't. So I was like, I have to unfortunately focus on myself, but here's a PowerPoint. I wanted to do so much more for them, but I was like, there's so little that I can do.
No, for sure.
In the
and
time.
Also, like 4 shows.
And also in the middle of a pandemic.
No, I get that.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, no.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I tried to do as much as I can, but I wish it happened. It was gonna look just so beautiful. Yeah.
So people can go and check out the website and see all of your stuff, but then, so tell me more about your thesis project.
Oh.
What was that?
So my thesis project was, I was just always curious about bespoke clothing and...
Bespoke?
Yeah. So I don't know if you know a lot about it.
Oh. You're talking to the person who knows nothing.
But you should, though, because
Okay.
everything that a costume designer makes for you from scratch is bespoke. So essentially, bespoke is an article of clothing that is made from scratch. So it is made for a specific person's measurements, and it's made with specific fabrics, with a specific color. So everything is very specific for you. It originates from, like, back in the day when you walk into a shop and you see a bundle of fabric, and you go, I want to dress in this fabric, and so that bundle of fabric was bespoken for you. So
Wow.
so yeah, so
Very one of a kind.
yeah, it was one of a kind. And so when we make things for you, like, let's say I'm making a pair of purple shorts for you, which,
Like you
I
did
mean,
in
we
Urge.
have done before. I take your measurements and I create a whole new pattern, so a whole new piece that I'm cutting the fabric out of for your measurements. So it's not based off of, like, a pattern I'm buying at the store, because usually, like, let's say I'm making a pair of pants for someone, or, like, the way things are made in stores today, like, let's say these pair of pants that I'm wearing today, they're made off of a pattern that is a size small. So all of the size smalls are the same measurements. They're off of the same pattern. But if this was bespoken for me, it would have been off of my measurements. The pattern would be different. Each individual pattern would be different. So I was just always really curious about that, and
Yeah.
because everything that you make in live theater is bespoken.
Yeah. This is blowing my mind.
I know.
Like
And
everything I've ever
people
worn.
forget. People
Yeah.
forget this is actually how it's done. We do things so differently and that's the main difference between fashion and costume design, right? So, so yeah, I was sort of exploring that, and I got to interview so many cool people.
Oh yeah.
I got to
Was it in
interview.
like an essay format, or did you do sort of like a slideshow?
I did an essay,
Okay.
and then I also did a PowerPoint
Okay.
for, like, a collection.
Did both.
I did both. I mean, you had to. If you were creating something, you still had to write, like, 10 pages.
Yeah.
They were like, you can't win, actually. So it was, like, great.
So you got to interview these people.
Yeah.
Wow.
I interviewed one of the owners from Sydney's, which is a tailoring shop, and they do, like, bespoke suits. And then I got to, like, talk to them about tailoring and what the difference is between tailoring and bespoke clothing and all those cool things. I was definitely nerding out. And then I got to speak to the owner of Shop and Tailor, who also does bespoke stuff and also does alterations and things like that. So I was just, like, basically trying to learn the difference between a lot of the terminology that is used in costume design that a lot of people don't actually know the definition of, and why we use it so loosely. Like, bespoke is used so loosely, and it shouldn't. Like, it's actually a very specific thing. And then I took that, and then I related it to, like, a potential line that I would make. It's funny, it's actually a line for dancers,
Oh, cool.
because dancers just have very specific bodies, right? And
Yeah.
you know that. And so how would you make basically, like, rehearsal clothes or clothes that they would perform in for, you know, their personal works or anything like that? How would you make
So cool.
clothing for them?
Yeah.
because you guys usually just buy things and hope it works out. Or like I'll get dancers that are like, "Hey, can you take this in for me? Can you make the back lower?"
Yeah.
And that happens a lot. You guys need your clothes adjusted a lot.
So we can feel comfortable in them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's most important for you guys. Clothing is like probably the most important things for you guys, because if you're not able to move properly, you're not going to like be comfortable, and you're not going to dance as freely as you need to.
Totally.
So
wow.
I was really interested in that.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you.
And I'd love to see it. I mean, like, so, and like you say, with all these, small amount of classes at Ryerson that are like actually specialized, like, it's good that you were able to talk to people in the industry, understand the terminology.
Oh, it was so cool. It was my favorite part of the entire project, because I actually got to speak to people and like learn all of the things that I've been so curious about and like so confused about.
Yeah.
Again, because like all of these terms are used so loosely that you just use them and you don't even know what they mean.
And then you made your own clothing line or hypothetical clothing line.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah. It was really fun. It was a lot of work, but it was really fun, and I learned a lot.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in the thesis project, like, even though it wasn't exactly what it was supposed to be, with COVID and everything.
Yeah.
Like, for me, like, I did it on my podcast, so it was, like, very, just, like, throwing things together last minute, but it's nice that we get to, like, work on something that really is ours and sparks our interest.
Exactly.
As, like, one performer or one artist or one creator. Like, yeah, to get that opportunity to really dive into what you want to work through. Like, would you ever find a way to like make this clothing line happen?
Ooh, I don't know.
Like, maybe that could be.
Maybe. I don't know.
You've already got the research, right?
I've already got the research down. It's just about bespoke clothing is not easy. It's very. You've really got to have like that 10,000 hours of experience in there, because you just need to learn how to work with different patterns, because otherwise you're just looking at a book for like 5 hours straight, just trying to make the front pair of pants, like the front part of pants. So it takes a lot of experience, but I mean, in the future, like maybe, I don't know, we'll see.
I'd buy it.
Thanks, girl.
As long as
I'll reach out to you first.
Yeah. As long as it's like fitted to me, like why would I say no? Like you say.
Well, I also spoke to a couple of dancers too. Like I interviewed a couple of dancers. I spoke to Victoria, Tomei, Barbara, and some gals, and I was like, hey, like, what do you guys wear? And then they showed me it's a dance look.
Yes.
Like the Instagram. My favorite account.
Love that account.
I love that account. It's so good.
It just captures like the weird ass like cultural scene of like what dancers actually wear in class. Like layers on layers sometimes, like especially with ballerinas. They're always wearing like leg warmers. Or, like, color coded, like monochrome color.
It's
schemes.
so good, and
it's very unique.
It's a very specific fashion too.
It is.
It's a very specific fashion.
Yeah.
And so it's like you're making clothes for a very specific body type, for a very specific need, with a very specific fashion type. Like, it is calling for bespoke clothing. Do you know what I mean? So...
Well, and it also gives you the opportunity to span across all body types, I guess, too, right? Like, to really, like, work with the performer or the dancer. Yeah. Do you have to make, oh my god, I'm going to butcher the word. It's like a mock-up? Is that what it's called? Yeah. Is that what that is?
Yeah,
like when you make like use like beige fabric?
Yeah, we use muslin.
Muslin. Okay,
yeah,
yes.
and so it's like the cheapest basically fabric that you can find to like make the mock-up. It's definitely got a mock-up.
Is that how you then created to fit someone?
Yeah, so you can. I mean, a lot of professionals, they'll just make a pattern and they go for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember speaking to the owner of Shop and Taylor, her name's Megan, and she was talking, because she actually makes custom bridal too.
Okay.
So she was talking about how she will actually make a mock-up of a similar, so she won't use muslin, but she'll use a similar fabric to the chosen fabric. And then she'll go ahead and she'll make the mock-up out of that, and mark she needs to and stuff like that. So professionals definitely make mock-ups too, depending on what you're making.
Right. It's always good to have that practice.
Oh, but it's so important. I mean, mock-ups are so important. I've definitely tried to skip the mock-up, and let me tell you, that did not work out. Oh, man.
Never skip the mock-up.
Never skip the mock-up.
That's what we're learning here.
Never do it. Yeah.
I feel like I just learned so much about, like,
oh, I'm so glad.
all of the things that I already was, like, involved in, like, with costume design as a dancer, like, in competitive dance. But now I actually, like, understand it. Bespoken. I'm gonna remember that word now.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad.
Thanks for teaching me about
Of course, anytime. Yeah. You can read my thesis whenever you want. I mean, it's not a great thesis, but read it. Why not?
Gosh, I'd love to see it, just to, like, understand more about it.
Yeah. It's a really cool concept, especially because it was just our way of making clothes for so long. Mm-hmm. And then now we're in this era of fast fashion where people aren't even buying clothes that fit them properly and doesn't even last that long. So we're living in a really crappy point of clothing right now. Mm-hmm. And I remember interviewing these people, and we were speaking about how bespoke clothing might actually be the best thing in this current COVID time.
Wow. Okay.
Right? If you're buying clothes for yourself, you want that piece of clothing to last a year or two, because you want to wear it.
Yeah.
Right?
And you want it to feel like it's actually yours, rather than like everyone who fits to a small or medium or large.
I mean, the downside is that it's super expensive. And not everyone will be able to afford it right now in this crisis, but it's a cool concept. It really is.
So yeah, maybe that's where we're headed then.
Hopefully.
You're setting the trend here.
I'm a trendsetter.
Yes.
What can you say?
We need people like you to help us.
Oh, stop. You're blowing up my head.
Seriously. I mean, yeah, like, is there anything else that you are working on right now that you want to plug or talk about, or
I mean,
projects?
there really isn't
That's okay.
a lot of projects that I'm working on.
So you're working with bridal.
Yeah, in bridal and film right now, so that's been really fun.
Very cool.
Definitely check out my design page.
Yes,
Why not?
I was gonna say, go check out her Instagram
It's
page.
my first and last name, so it's Aaliyah Sundar.
I will link it below in the podcast description.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot going on the page, but hopefully there will be very soon. And lots of fun stuff, lots of fun work going on. So
Yay! Thank you for sitting with me.
Oh, and thank you for having me. This is so fun.
Repeating the studio with garbage cans, and everything super
and
loud,
the most high-pitched gal in the room. I love it. I was like, I forgot who I was telling this to, but I was like, I was asked to be on a podcast. Like, God forbid I laugh on this podcast. I have the funniest laugh in the world. I do. Like, if I'm cackling, thank God I did not do it during the session, because
Well, no, I didn't make you laugh enough. I know.
No, you did. No, this is so much fun.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you for making the time.
Yay!
It's so
my God,
nice
anytime.
to connect and actually sit down with you.
And have a familiar face. We were literally just saying before we started filming, we never got to connect.
I know. It was only Urge 2 years ago, and it was so quick.
It was so quick. It was just a fitting.
Yeah, that's
I was touching your ass the entire time, and that was it. We called it a day.
That's how now we can't do that anymore, but that's how we started.
Oh, that's how things started.
That's right.
I love it.
I love that we're ending this podcast and touching my ass all the time.
Oh, yeah. Gotta make things fit. Oh.
Thank you so much, Aaliyah.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Art Versations podcast. If you like what you heard, the best way to help the podcast is to subscribe or follow on your preferred podcast platform and leave a review. As well, follow the podcast on Instagram at artversationspod. You'll find photos of each of my guests so you can match a voice to a face and highlight clips from each episode. Let's keep the conversation going. Send in a DM with your own thoughts about art, as well as any questions you think I should ask my guests. The podcast community continues to grow, and that is all because of you, listener. All bodies are dancer bodies, and all lives can't matter until Black Lives Matter. Till next time.
Let's hear it.